Hey guys, welcome back to another Daily Dose of Dunn. Today's episode, it always works out in the end. How much of your life have you spent suffering over things that never actually happened? Think about that. Not the things that happened, the things you worried about, the things you feared, the things that kept you awake at night, the things that stole your peace. Most of them never happened. And the few that did, you survived those too. That's the crazy part about life. We spend so much time preparing for storms, only to realize later we were standing under a sprinkler. The older I get, the more I realize something. Everything always works out in the end. Not always how I planned, not always how I wanted, but somehow, some way, it works out. And this weekend reminded me of that. It was no different. This weekend was my birthday. My girlfriend had planned something special. She put a lot of thought into it, a lot of effort, a lot of pressure on herself to make everything perfect. She booked what looked like an amazing hotel room. Beautiful photos, beautiful views, everything looked incredible online. But when we arrived, something felt off. She had me stay in the car because she wanted to surprise me. So she went inside to decorate the room. We're in Laguna, it's beautiful. A little while later, she came back out to get me. When we walked into the room, it wasn't the room she booked, not even close. Turns out the photos online were incredibly misleading. The room was tiny, not small, tiny. In fact, it was the only room on the entire property that couldn't even fit a regular bed inside of it. The bed literally folded down from the wall. You know, a Murphy bed? It had one tiny window facing the street, no view, no charm, nothing like what was advertised. And the worst part, we were supposed to stay there for 2 nights. The hotel told us they could put us in a nicer room for the first night, but we'd have to agree to move to a smaller room the second night. And that's when I looked over and saw my girlfriend's face. She was crying, not because of the room, because she felt like she ruined my birthday. She felt like she failed. She felt embarrassed. She felt defeated. And honestly, my heart broke for her. Not because I knew how much effort she had put into it. I knew how excited she was. I knew how badly she wanted everything to be perfect. So I just held her and I reminded her none of this mattered because she was there. The room wasn't the gift. She was. See, here's something I've learned. Sometimes the person suffering the most isn't the person experiencing the problem. It's the person blaming themselves for it. And she was carrying a lot of weight on her shoulders, weight that she should never have been carrying. I told her we'd figure it out. Worst case scenario, we leave. We'll find somewhere else. We'll make our own adventure because peace isn't found in perfect circumstances. Peace is found knowing you'll be okay no matter what happens. See, my mom taught me something when I was young. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. In other words, kindness gets doors open that anger never will. So instead of yelling, instead of demanding, instead of acting entitled, we went back downstairs, and I simply talked to the front desk clerk. Not as an employee, not as a problem solver, as a person. I explained that my girlfriend had worked really hard to make this birthday special for me, and she was disappointed. She was being really hard on herself, and I asked him if there was anything he could do to help us. We just wanted to create a great memory. That's it. No threats, no screaming, no attitude, just kindness, just honesty, just respect. And something amazing happened. He wanted to help. Go figure. That's the funny thing people forget. Sometimes, people just want to help people. Most people aren't looking for a fight. They're looking for a reason to care, a reason to go the extra mile, a reason to get creative. And that's exactly what happened. He checked availability, nothing. But he thought for a minute and he said, wait, we have another property down the street. Let me see what they have there. A few minutes later, he came back smiling. They had 2 rooms available. One was similar to the room that we were actually in for the first night. The other, a cottage suite. Basically their version of a penthouse. Beautiful. Ocean view, private, spacious, absolutely incredible. And somehow, it was the exact same price that we were paying for the night that we were going to be at this hotel. And they gave us a credit and a late checkout. And suddenly, the worst part of the day became the best part of the weekend. Because none of it would have happened if things had actually gone the way that we had planned. I want you to hear that again. None of it would have happened if things had gone the way we actually had planned. Sometimes your disappointment in life is just redirecting you towards something better. There's an old Chinese story you probably have heard. It's called the farmer's luck. One day a farmer's horse runs away. And the neighbor says, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And the farmer says, maybe. The next day the horse returns with 3 wild horses. The neighbor says, that's wonderful. The farmer says, maybe. The next day his son falls off of one of the horses while riding it and breaks his leg. And the neighbor says, that's terrible. The farmer says, maybe. The next day, soldiers come to draft young men to the war. His son is spared because he has a broken leg. That's wonderful, says a neighbor. Maybe. The lesson is, we're constantly judging events before the story's finished. Life isn't happening to you, life is unfolding around you. And most of us are reading chapter 20 while we're still living in chapter 3. We get upset, we get angry, we get frustrated, we get stressed, and most of the time, we don't even have all the information yet. One bad hour doesn't mean it's a bad day. One bad day doesn't mean it's a bad week. One bad week doesn't mean it's a bad life. A plot twist isn't the ending. One of my favorite reminders is this: if you're going through hell, keep going. Because where people get stuck is they stop moving. They stop believing. They stop trusting. They stop hoping. But life rewards movement. Life rewards faith. Life rewards patience. The truth is, every challenge you've ever faced has eventually become a story. Every setback eventually became a lesson. Every obstacle eventually became wisdom. And every time you thought your world was ending, the sun came up the next morning, didn't it? Just like it always does. So the next time life doesn't go according to plan, take a breath, pause, remember this story. Remember the hotel room. Remember the tears. Remember the stress. Remember how none of it mattered 24 hours later. Because someday, you'll look back on whatever you're stressed about today and you'll laugh. You'll wonder why you gave it so much power. You'll wonder why you let it steal your peace. And you'll realize something. Just like you always do, everything worked out. It always does. Maybe not exactly the way you imagined. Maybe not in your timeline. Maybe not through the path you expected. But somehow, some way, it works out. And isn't that the fun part of everything? And until then, choose kindness. Choose patience. Choose perspective. And trust that the story isn't over yet. Thanks for joining me, guys. Take care. Till next time.